Well, good evening, Community Baptist Church family. It is a joy to be with you. And you know, it has been such an incredibly crazy season that we have been in the midst of and still continue in many ways to be in the midst of, even as we have been monitoring closely, as I'm sure you have, the reopening of things in the various states and counties and some of the confusion and just the trial and error realities of it. We ourselves, the elders, have been monitoring and talking to local officials and healthcare community and different people, just trying to understand when it would be wise and good for us to be able to gather together in a complete or more complete fashion as God has intended for us. You know, as it's this past weekend being Mother's Day, what a blessed time. I pray that for you all, you had a wonderful time with your families and just a time too to reflect in God's Word on the account we have of Hannah and her faithfulness and to see how that translates into our time today. And afterwards, I was blessed to be one of the teams that volunteered and was able to deliver our just small gift from the church family to our mothers throughout our community and across multiple counties, and just what a blessing that was. And as I came to many of the houses and knocked on the door and was able to make that delivery, just to see people that I haven't gotten to see, it was such a joyful time for me. And so I would reflect and say how wonderful it is to see whoever the person was that I hadn't seen in a while. And at each moment, they were very quick to remind me that they had been, in fact, seeing me weekly on their screen. But I realized that I had not seen them. So with all of that and with an abundance of caution and yet a deep recognition of need, I am excited to announce that this coming weekend we will be able to both see one another together again as a church family. Now, it will not be the gathering in the way that we have been able to enjoy in the past, but it will be a much more complete gathering than what has been the last several weeks. And so with that, I just want to go over a few of the guidelines and the reasons and help you all to be prepared for this Sunday and the weeks that follow. So beginning this Sunday, the 17th, here's just some basic breakdowns that you need to be aware of. We're going to have 2 Sunday morning services. Those services will be the first one at 9 a.m. And here's how you'll know which one to come to. It's not based on how early you like to get out of bed or which one you prefer. It's based upon your last name. And so if you have a last name that begins with the letter A to the letter L or any of the letters in between, you will be a part of the group that is attending the 9 a.m. service. So let me just reiterate that. If your last name begins with A to L, including L, you will be coming to the 9 a.m. service. If your last name begins with the letters M to Z, then you will be coming to the 10:45 service. So let me again just reiterate. The schedules are 9 a.m., A to L last name, and then 10:45 a.m. for those who are M through Z in their last name. Our Sunday evening and our Wednesday p.m. services will continue to be online for this season that we're in right now. Now, as we get further into this, there's going to be a video available that you'll see directly following this. It's one that you can reflect back on that will just help go through some of what we're about to talk about to help you understand we've termed these our COVID Commandments. Our COVID Commandments. Now, I'm familiar with Brother Charles Spurgeon and his reference to the 10 Commandments and his desire to add none to them, seeing as how they were difficult enough to keep as it is. And while we are in firm agreement with him on that, we have come up with this short list of commandments for this season, and our desire in that is that it would drive us to greater and greater unity, that it would enable us to love one another, and that it would bring a more complete ability to our gathering. So let me go through those quickly with you. The first, and likely least popular of our COVID commandments, thou shalt mask up. In this time and in concert with talking to multiple health officials, we have come to that difficult decision that for the sake of all, for this short time gathering that we will be together in the room, we do expect and in fact mandate that you do wear a mask. Now, if you're saying, oh, but I don't have one, have no fear. We have tasked some of our folks with putting together and sewing some, and so we will have masks available. We do ask, if you do have one, please bring your own, because numbers are limited. But if in fact you do not have a mask, we do have a fresh, unused mask for you to use and to have and to keep throughout this season. So commandment number 1 is you shall wear a mask while we are gathered. Number 2, and this is along the same lines, for as we gather, there will be no nursery and no children's church. We recognize those limitations and have shaped and structured our social distancing guidelines within the sanctuary in a way that accommodates that. However, commandment number 2 is thou shalt contain thy children. Or control thy children. And so we do ask families with young ones. We recognize that we are not asking for you to have your young children wearing masks. That would be an impossibility that would limit you even bothering to come. However, even as they are not wearing masks, we do ask that all adults do, and we ask that adults please contain your children. I know this will be an exercise in sanctification, and we only recognize that it is both good for us to gather, and it is good for us to make the sacrifices necessary to do so. So we do ask that you contain your children in an appropriate way while we are gathered. Number 3, because of the limitations and the multiple services, thou shalt arrive and depart in a timely fashion, because we will still be offering a predominantly online service that is going to be scheduled for those times. We do ask that if you are one who is attending at the 9 a.m. service, please be there at 9 a.m. to be seated. The seating in the sanctuary will be designated and limited, and so please come early enough to be seated in a timely fashion, and then plan on directly after the service departing. Number 1, to allow us to implement our sanitization controls and protocols between the services. And then number 2, so that we don't do anything that violates the social distancing requirements that we're seeking to uphold. All right. Number 4, thou shalt be free. And what that means is simply this: thou shalt be free to choose not to attend if you are uncomfortable, or if there's a reason due to social or due to higher risk factors that it would be wise for you not to attend, or you would feel that way. Please know that you are free not to attend. We encourage you to exercise your freedom to come or to continue online as you see fit, and recognize that there's no sin in that. There's no disdain for the gathering of Christ's body as you exercise wisdom through this season. Number 5, thou shalt not infect thy neighbor. And what we mean by that is simply this: brothers and sisters, as excited as we are to gather, and as excited as we anticipate and hope that you are to be gathered with us, if you have symptoms such as a persistent cough, a fever, or any other symptoms that are questionable, we ask that you do please continue to join us online from home. We do want to continue forward and see this grow and not set us back in our ability to gather. And so we do please ask that if you do have any symptoms, that you please keep them to yourself and at home. And then our final one, and this one is kind of all-encompassing of the rest: thou shalt lay down thy preferences. And so this one kind of covers all of it. It means that while you may think that it's fine for your children to run and visit, we're asking that you would, in respect of others' preferences, not. And while you may think that you want to maintain a 30-foot circle around yourself, we understand that you might have that preference, but we ask you to please lay them down for the benefit of others. We ask that you practice proper social distancing. Even if you feel comfortable with a hug, we do ask that you would, in fact, distance to a wave. So in all of this, love one another, consider others as more worthy of honor than yourself, and to the implementation of a unified gathering, please lay down your preferences. You may be in a category where you would prefer to be at the 10:45 gathering, but your alphabetical order mandates the 9 o'clock gathering. You may be one who thinks that wearing a mask is silly. Whatever the case may be, we ask that you please, for the unity of the body, for the other elements that are intended through the gathering, please lay down your preferences when we gather together this coming week. It's a wonderful exercise for us of humility, sacrifice, and love one for another, that we might, in fact, begin to get back to some normalcy within our church services. Brothers and sisters, we recognize that these are imperfect gatherings. Not that we've ever had a perfect gathering, but these are considerably more imperfect. But we also recognize that they are a first step back, and we are excited to begin that. Now, directly following this announcement I've just made, Ransom and some of our team have put together a short video clip that you'll be able to reference and go to be reminded of these things. Super thankful for all who participated, and so I'm just going to quickly ask Ransom, did I leave anything out? Is there anything that we need to make sure and focus in on?
No, I think you covered just about everything. You mentioned about wearing masks and things like that. That's something you've mentioned even you're going to be doing at the back of the sanctuary, that there won't be that normal interaction of shaking hands with the pastor at the end of the service, that kind of thing. Things like the contactless offering, some of the other provisions that we've made for these things. All in an effort to serve the body and abide by the different guidelines so that we can meet in a way that as much as we can in fullness. And also you mentioned some of the efforts that are going to be made by our deacons and some other folks to prepare the sanctuary even before we gather this Sunday.
Yes.
There's preparations being made and in between each of the services as well.
Yeah, I think the idea is just that we can do all that is within sound wisdom to be careful, to be wise, but at the same time that we can begin to gather again as a body, which is so necessary for the health of our souls and for the accomplishment of our mission. And so very excited. I am so excited to be joined with whoever's able to come and be joined with us this weekend as we begin to try and work back to a normal unified gathering of the believers of the body of Christ at Community Baptist Church. So excited, looking forward to seeing you this weekend. And if you're one who, because of symptoms or because of wisdom in your own home, that choose not to be joined with us, please know that you are loved, you are missed, and we look forward to the time when you can be joined with us as well.
Hey CBC family, we're all very excited to be coming back together soon. In order to do that safely, we wanted to provide a couple of guidelines for you, and so we've come up with what we call the Koban Commandments. The first one is called Thou Shalt Mask Up.
Masks are required for the whole service. If you don't have one, don't worry. We do have a limited number, so you can pick one up on your way in.
The second commandment is Thou shalt lay down thy preferences.
Not everyone's going to be okay with hugs or handshakes, so let's keep it to 6 feet.
And the next commandment, because we're all going to be together, because we're all going to have all of our families here in the sanctuary together, is Thou shalt control thy children. Guys. The next commandment is Thou shalt depart in a timely fashion.
We know that we all love to fellowship, but we're asking that as soon as service is over, you quickly make your way out.
And next, Thou shalt be free. If you're not ready to come back, if you're in one of our high-risk categories, feel free to stay at home. We're going to continue to live stream all of our services. And the last is Thou shalt not infect thy neighbor.
If you're not feeling well or if you're showing symptoms, as much as we want to see you again, would love to have you be a part of our services. For the sake of our brothers and sisters, let's try to keep that all at home.
Once again, we're excited to have everybody back in our CBC Stuart family gathering with us here in a more complete way. But we do ask that you remember these COVID commandments.